The Holy Gospel is according to St. Matthew, the 11th chapter. Glory to you, Lord. When John heard in prison what the Messiah was doing, he sent word by his disciples and said to them, "Are you the one who is to come, or are we wait for another?" Jesus answered them, "Go and tell John what you hear and see. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the poor have good news brought to them. And blessed is anyone who takes no offense at me." As they went away, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. "What did you go out into the wilderness to look at? A reed shaken by the wind? What then did you go out to see? Someone dressed in soft robes? Look, those who wear soft robes are in royal palaces. What then did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, and more than a prophet. This is the one about whom it is written, 'See, I am sending my messengers ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you.' Truly, I tell you, among those born of women, no one has a rising greater than John the Baptist. Yet, the least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than he." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. You may be seated. As we hear today's readings, are there any words, phrases, images captured your heart? As I was reading, the words stood out to me, the words Jesus said to the disciple of John. "What do you see? What do you hear?" These words somehow stand out to me. Maybe because my little tiny cat who was naughty yesterday, totally naughty, it's Santa Claus not coming to our house to see her level of naughtiness she was yesterday. But when I look at this tiny one, she's growing, but she is still at this height. Jumping everywhere with her big eyes. Look outside the windows, and I wonder, what does she see and what does she hear? This is the words Jesus replied when the disciples of John the Baptist came and asked if he was the long-awaited Messiah. Jesus did not say yes or no, but Jesus simply said, "What do you see and hear?" That's what the God's people has been doing. They've witnessed and they've heard what God's been doing in their lives. In Isaiah reading, that's what we reading during the Advent. Those are the visions of God that the prophet have heard and prophets have told, and God's people have heard and envisioned together with God. So today's Isaiah part of the reading talks about when God comes. When God comes, the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped. The lame shall leap like the deer, and the tongue of the speechless sing for joy. And my favorite part, when God comes, the wilderness and the dry land blossom with joy. The third Sunday of Advent is known as the Joy Sunday, Gaudete in Latin. This is a Sunday, a little special we focus about the joy. And some pastors call this Sunday the Pink Candle Sunday. As we can see in here, pink candle we light on the third Sunday of Advent. I really do not know much about this tradition. Back in home in Japan, I remember the candle was white. But when I came to the United States, I saw these pretty blues and the pretty pink. In my previous church, I had no idea about this pink candle. And I thought, isn't that love is a pink candle? And the member corrected me. No, it's the third Sunday. It's a joy candle. So I got curious and looked up if I can share something with you about what this is all about. Guess what did I find? Not much. It was definitely something came out of the Catholic tradition that they started on it. And the Protestants liked the idea for one specific candle to have in new colors in the church. And nobody really knows. But somehow somebody chose the pink is the color of joy. So that we have pink or rose, I think rose colors also, same thing. Some said it's something to do with the Mary, some say it's something to do with the church. I still do not know. Maybe next year I have some idea if I learn more about it. Or maybe you know and tell me about it. But, yeah, do you? No.
Not really. I said they just have pink candles.
Yeah, just a pink candle, you know. I just call it the pink candle Sunday like some other pastors does. But whatever how it started, whatever it means, or pink is the color of joy to you or not, still, this Advent candle we light to anticipate the coming of Christ. It's to help us to tell the story. Today is the story of God's joy. That's what I use it. The joy is something unique thing. Joy is different from being happy. Joy is something more like, to me, it's like something coming from within, with surprising way. Like when the cat came into my life, I have the frustration at the same time to see this cat with big eye, with the feeling unsafe at the parsonage. That brings me to joy. Because, Linda, you can talk about it. Those animals who are left on the street, they live with trauma. It is like the small things, the behavior you notice. This little cat who is vicious and curious and climb up everything, but when she hears the semi goes around, the sound of semi, she jumped and tucked underneath of the couch to hide herself. She didn't tell me what happened, but clearly she had some trauma living with. So whenever I see this cat feeling safe to play around in a parsonage, explore things. That's bring me joy. And the joy to me is a God's gift. I can't make myself too joyous or rejoice. It just naturally occurs and mysteriously occurs from inside. Joy is a God's gift, and this is God's territory. It's a holy thing and divine thing. So the God's people, whenever they experience this moment of joy in their day, they tell it. They're told and retold, and this joy, stories touch other people to tell and retell the story of joy. And I want to share with you one of the story of joy I learned this week. And this time, I want to make it visual and show and tell. So I invested $2 of more money at the Dollar General. And I'm glad they had it. So I want you to help me to show and tell the story. What is this? Stocking. This is a Christmas stocking. Do you have one of these in your house? What do you do with this Christmas stocking? How do you use it?
Gifts inside.
Put gifts inside. That's a way to use it. And let me see if I have something in here. Oh, look. I have the name for the food box. Here, Neil. That is a gift for you. That's from the St. Nicholas.
Okay.
Let's see what else I find. Something up there. What's that? Also, tell me what is it. Oops, I'm not a good thrower, I'm sorry. Tell me what it is.
What
Huh?
did you ask me?
What is it?
These
Tell us.
imitation money. Gold coins.
Gold coins. That is the one, some of the things. And the coin is the one, the story of joy I can talk about. The coin that was used by Saint Nicholas, that's the real saint, not the Santa Claus, the real saint in the bishop. He was a bishop in modern day Turkey, 3rd, 4th century bishop, I believe. He was known as the generous man. He was very compassionate and caring. So there is a legend about him using his coins to the father who had 3 daughters. If you have daughters, you know what will happen. Daughter need to get married. And the marriage is costly. It's very costly. So he had 3. And in those days, when you marry the daughter, you sent with the dowries, the money when she married you. But if you do not have that money, what happened for this case was that the daughter will be sold off. Not as a marriage, sold off to somebody because they can afford it. Yes, this is a ridiculous story when we hear it, when I read it. So the bishop, Nicholas, heard about this father and he's struggling. One night, he walked around, throws a coin into the window. Then the father and the daughter found the coin, and that spared their life. Daughter was no longer need to be sold off. They can just marry as it is. And that was the story. So they say it's like old story. But when St. Nicholas did, story became a legend. And that's why we place the socks and put the gifts in it, to remember the story of this Saint Nicholas, that his generosity and his compassionate heart, and what he did to the people, which is to make a people a little joy, to bring to the joy. That coin may not solve all the problem the father and the daughter faced, but it's relieved a little bit of the stress they had and tried to live on. And they knew they are not alone. Somebody cares. So that will bring a joy to it. So why I'm talking about the joy story of the St. Nicholas? One is there was a St. Nicholas commemoration day in December 6th. We commemorate him. And Herb from the St. Nicholas sent me the devotion about him, this story in it. And I thought, that is something neat, because we have those in home. And we use it, put the gifts in. But how it started, all those stories are. It's about God's people caring other God's children. So the story of St. Nicholas, as I heard and read and learned, and we talked, to me that reminds me of this vision that we hear in Isaiah today. The wilderness blossoming with joy. I've never been to wilderness, but I imagine that's a place I do not want to be. Very hard, very isolated, and probably very stressful day to day to find a way to survive, and probably very dark. In Isaiah reading, the gods tell this story. When God comes, the wilderness and dry land will blossom with joy. And tiny something bloom out there. God brings life in the wilderness. So what do you see? And what do you hear? Sometimes I feel like we are living in the wilderness. Issues of isolation is a real problem that has been an issue, and it is getting worse. Young people, elderly people, young adults, and not so young adults. Many experience the loneliness and mental illness. And the cost of everything makes us really hard of the life of everybody, and especially for those who have fixed incomes and limited incomes. God's people are hurting, like the father in the story in St. Nicholas. But I believe in God who makes the desert blossom, who works through each of us to bring life to the struggling ones. And one of the things we are going to do this week is a food box. I've heard some of you mention how this, when you bring out this box, that makes the people's face smile and to bring God's joy to each of them. God uses us to be God's hands and feet. Last Sunday we did the green tree. Remember, we filled that tree with green envelopes that will buy the gifts for the Lutheran family services. And imagine the joy bring to those children when receive those gifts. We bring joy, or God brings joy through us, through prayers. And just simply a friend to God's neighbors we meet. That's the way we share God's joy. I wonder, when we make one person smile this week in the wilderness, one flower blossom, maybe it's a tiny one, and that we continue one blossom at a time. And one day, as God promised, when God comes, the suffering will cease, and the wilderness will be filled with blossom in joy. Amen.